Right, welcome back. Now, today, the Department of Science and Innovation is launching a very exciting World Science Forum, which is, of course, an international conference series on global science policy. Now, the forum, which is to be hosted for the very first time right here on the African continent, brings together leading scientists, researchers, civil society, and all other stakeholders to discuss the role of science and technology and innovation in addressing global challenges facing humanity. And since its inception in 2013, this has been organized in Hungary, Brazil, and Jordan. And this year, it's expected that over 1,000 people from around the world will be in attendance. Science and Technology and Innovation Minister Dr. Blade Nzimande joins us now to talk more about this historic gathering. Minister, good morning, and thanks for speaking to us on Morning Live.
Sakina, good morning. Thank you very much for inviting me, and good evening. Good morning to your viewers and listeners as well. You know, you can see I hardly slept.
Minister, we don't know why you didn't sleep, but you must sleep unless you were innovative and coming up with some scientific offering to present at this conference. There's no excuse.
Yes, no, I was busy preparing a lot of things. Thanks, Sakina.
Minister, this, of course, is a very exciting conference, but please explain to South Africans why it is important and why we should care about it.
Thanks very much, Sakina. Firstly, what I want to say is that this is a global science event, which is respected worldwide, and it's always being held with very important global partners like UNESCO, which is the global body for education and science. It's a United Nations body. It's also in partnership with the International Science Forum, and it's also in partnership with the World Academy of Science, which is the premier scientific body in the world. It's the first time that it's being held in the African continent under a very important theme that we suggested as South Africa: science for social justice. I can come back to explain later about that. But it's the first time it's being held on the African continent ever, which is a big credit and recognition of South Africa as a science country. It's also, by the way, reflects the respect that we have globally on the scientific field, which we even got more kudos with how we handled COVID-19. We set an exceptional example on how to use science in the daily management of COVID-19. Even the Director General of the World Health Organization, when he visited here, he actually said that South Africa was almost in its own league in terms of using science of that sort. So this is a big vote of confidence in South Africa. So very important, and I think also what is the significance of this is that it should also help to encourage young people to say nowadays, really, if you work hard, you're studying, the world is in your feet. You can just about become anything that you want to be. The other thing that I hope this will help with Sakina, especially partnering with the public broadcaster, which I'm excited about, is also to promote something I'm very passionate about, which is science literacy. Just for every South African to know about the role of science at a very basic level. What is science? The role of science, how science actually helps us. Because this becomes very important also in combating stereotypes, that we normally have about things that are happening around us, For instance, about vaccination, what kinds of beliefs, some of them which are not scientific, were there around about this. So we hope also this, with your partnership as the public broadcaster, is a further platform to promote science literacy, the understanding of the role of science in society.
And that's a very important point, Minister, especially given that as a country, we're not doing too well when it comes to maths and science at the basic schooling level. So this could obviously also be an opportunity to try and excite young people about science, technology, and innovation. But how exactly should we go about doing that? How do we posit this?
Well, firstly, what we already do as the Department of Science and Innovation is that we have a Young Science Forum, which is also, by the way, another platform that was initiated by China at BRICS level, that we've got a Young Scientist Forum at BRICS level. Secondly, what we do, by the way, as well, is that we've got Women in Science Awards every year, and particularly encouraging young women to actually become scientists. We also have a program which we call Grassroots Innovation. That program basically is trying to reach out to communities, ordinary communities, to encourage them to come up with ideas of innovation and to identify ideas of innovation. The other thing that I'm introducing as well is that in our technical and vocational education and training colleges, I'm also introducing innovation. Apart from entrepreneurship, we are also now funding innovation activities because our belief, by the way, is that innovation is everywhere. Innovation will come from very high-level scientists, PhDs, professors, and so on. But innovation also comes from the grassroots, Sakina. So we need to actually be promoting all of that. And as I say, I will also soon be launching a huge nationwide program on science literacy, just to be able to inform ordinary South Africans about the role of science. I know we don't have time, but there's just this recent joke that when Orlando Pirates won on Saturday the MTN Cup, there was an earth tremor. So people say, yeah, it's true, Orlando Pirates is Gama Gebula. Look, they win the MTN and South Africa is an earth tremor after a long time.
I don't know who innovated that one, but Minister, I'm not sure about that Richter scale. That I'm not sure about the accuracy of that reading. But all the same, you got that one in, Minister. No, you got that one in. But Minister, when we talk about science, the theme for this year, science for social justice, how do we explain that to ordinary South Africans, to lay people? How is science used to bring about social justice?
Sakina, this is reflecting largely our own experience as South Africa and also our own aspiration as a country. Remember that science in South Africa, amongst other things, was used to try and say Black people are inherently and genetically inferior to white people. That's where we come from, by the way. Anthropology was based on that we are often an inferior species, and apartheid was justified an attempt on scientific grounds. There were ideologues and scientists of apartheid who were doing that. So it's very important to actually then say that is just not true, because that was science being advanced in the interest of perpetrating an injustice. Science also, in our own history, by the way, as South Africa, there were scientific experiments, of actually producing chemicals that would only target people with black skins. That's how far science went under apartheid. So when we are saying science for social justice, we are saying science must be used to promote peace, equality, development, and inclusive societies. That is our own aspiration as a country, given our own experience. That's why when we were asked to be given the chance to host, they said, you come up with a theme. And that's the theme we came up with, and everybody accepted it. But also, it's a worldwide phenomenon, this problem of inequality, the economic injustices that people are facing. So we're emphasizing the need for science to be used for good uses. Science can be used for devastation. I'm telling you, there's something called military science, which is science being used to produce weapons, science to actually advance destruction of one against the other. We would like to emphasize that science must be used for good uses and to actually promote human welfare, human inequality, societal inequality, gender equality, and all those things and those values that we think actually are values that are in the interest of advancing the cause of humanity. That is what is behind the theme that we have chosen on science for social justice, because indeed science can be used for destruction. But we are saying science must be used to advance humanity and to promote inclusivity in particular.
And in order to achieve all of those ideals, Minister, are we spending enough as a country on science, technology and innovation?
Unfortunately, Sakina, I'm glad you are asking that question. No, unfortunately not. In fact, even with COVID now, before COVID, we were spending like 0.8% of GDP on science. We are now at about between 0.6 and 0.7. We've gone down. And largely, by the way, it's in the private sector where there's been a decline because of economic challenges that we faced during COVID. Even as government, we do not have enough on the fiscus actually to spend on science and innovation. So that's why there are certain measures that we are taking through the Department of Science and Innovation. Well, firstly, I need to say, by the way, the president has established an interministerial committee that he has asked me to chair of what we call ministers who are in science intensive departments, like agriculture, like environment. Those are some of the departments that are science intensive. Almost all of government does use science. So the aim of that interministerial committee is to cooperate and coordinate our budgets on science, technology, and innovation so that we make maximum impact. Also, what we are going to be doing early next year, we are going to be convening, led by the president, a science, technology, and innovation plenary for South Africa, which will bring together business, government, civil society, academia, everybody to say, how do we actually mobilize resources? We have also established what we call an innovation fund for South Africa, which is actually raising funding and monies to actually promote science in particular areas. But the spending also, Sakina, we don't want it to be all over the place. We have got priorities. As you may guess, priority number one now, we have got what we call a decadal plan, which is a 10-year plan for science, which covers the years 2021 to 2031. The one thing that is one of what we call grand challenges is energy, that we need to be mobilizing huge resources for science to support alternative forms and sustainable forms of energy. The blackouts we are having, we need to mobilize science to bring an end to that. It's very important. The other area that we are looking at is climate change and the devastation that it is causing. I was looking at videos being sent by people from my hometown in Maritzburg yesterday. There was a cloudburst, and you could see that there must have been a lot of damage, that we are still going to be faced with floods and all that. How do we use science to better confront and save human lives, and so on? For example, our National Space Agency, by the way, after the devastating floods in KZN last year, came with satellite pictures that show details of where the damage is, making it even easier, by the way, to estimate how much it could cost and so on. That is the contribution of our National Space Agency in terms of using space-based technology to actually take. For instance, right now in South Africa, we know exactly all our informal settlements, where they are, what services they have, what services they don't have, using space science, using satellite technology. So all those are primary things around which we need to grow. Of course, we also need to be growing science in terms of modernizing technology for mining. We are doing a lot of work on that, Sakina. I would be happy one day to come and talk in some detail on that. Also, new methods of manufacturing. We are also a country, by the way, that is very scarce on water. We are doing a lot of research and investing some money into water-related scientific research and activities. So our priorities, or the way which must increase funding, must be guided by our priorities, especially the most immediate things that are facing us. as a challenge as a country. So that is why we also want to use this platform of the World Science Forum to further interest other role players to put in money into the promotion of science and not just rely on the fiscus, on government. Of course, government itself, I am daily knocking on the Minister of Finance's door for more increased funding for science.
And that, of course, is very important. The other thing, Minister, is vocational schools. And, you know, this is something that we keep coming back to. And what's the plan there, given that the budget is one constraint? Do we have ways around that so that we can deal with making sure that there are streams where learners can even go into before they get to grade 12? Because that seems very important, even if we look at best practice in other countries.
Sakina, I'm happy you're asking that question, because over the last 10, 12 years, we have spent a lot of effort in trying to popularize vocational education amongst our young people. As a Department of Higher Education and Training, which is my other department that I'm responsible for, you know, I've done a lot. For instance, I introduced NSFAS for the first time, Student Financial Aid, in 2010 at Tibet colleges. There was nothing like that ever before that, in order to attract and assist well-performing students from poor families to access vocational education and training. As I have said, we are introducing entrepreneurship in our Tibet colleges. We are also introducing innovation, funding for innovation, so that we are actually encourage people, and especially the production of artisans. We have a huge shortage of artisans. We can't even do some of these scientific things that we think we need to do unless also we are able to produce a lot of artisans. Now, also, I'm very pleased to say that the Minister of Basic Education, my colleague, Minister Motsecha, is now planning to introduce another stream into basic education, which is vocational education and training scheme. Because the big weakness we have, Sakina, at the moment is that our schooling system is very academic. We are expecting every child to do well in an academic metric and go to university. And if you don't go that route, you are nothing, you know. Yet other countries, take Germany, only 3 out of youngsters who leave school go to university. 7 get apprentice. Look at how Germany is actually performing. At the moment also, only 6 out of 100 kids who start grade 1 in South Africa actually reach and pass university. What happens to the 94? They need to be absorbed in colleges like technical, vocational, and education and training colleges, as well as into community education colleges, which is another form that we are now promoting through my own department. So all those things are very important as part of a package of responding comprehensively to the challenge facing South Africa, especially to open opportunities for young people, Sakina.
Minister, you know, there's so much that I would like to talk to you about, but we have time constraints. But we'll pick up on this conversation at another time, because at the mining Indaba earlier this year, there was a very innovative project that the Council for Geosciences was talking about, you know, a new carbon capture project. And that I thought was quite exciting, about how they could capture the carbon and store it, for example, in rocks if possible. And that would deal very well with our carbon emissions problem. So there's a lot happening. And as you said, hopefully get more money into the sciences for all of this. But thanks so much for your time, Minister.
Thank you very much, Sakina. I hope to be on your platform again. I'm more than happy to take this important discussions forward.
And that, of course, Dr. Blade Nzimande, who is the Minister of Science, Technology and Innovation, speaking to us about some of the important aspects pertaining to his portfolio and, of course, the conference that kicks off today. It is, of course, a global conference.